Well, that's just hunky-dory. My power's been out for 5 hours, and wow, my food has gone bad. Let's just look at my refrigerator and see what is bad inside. Whew! Smells like some rotten meat in here. Well, I should have been a little more prepared, but I'm going to hopefully have this all solved. What's going on in my freezer? Everything is defrosting in here. It's almost lukewarm. So, if you want proof that our power does not work, let me show you some things here in this house. So I turn on these light switches. None of our lights come on anywhere. The kitchen lights, the stove's off, everywhere. Our lights here. I push the power button on, and nothing. Welcome back to Pushing Technology to the Limit. Today I'm going to help you solve your refrigeration problem. And I've got a lot of setup here, and if you've seen my past videos, you'll know that I've got an emergency system set up in my home. Well, right now I've got to go out and get the generator turned on. So in my garage, all the lights will come on because well, something's going on here. Anyways, the lights don't work. Well, these do. I don't know why those ones don't. But these ones work just fine. So these are the ones that I need. So I can get back to my shed here, or my workroom, get my generator all running here. So here we go. Now we got the generator running, so I gotta get back to the house. So you can hardly see it, but the lights won't come on down here. So I gotta come over here to my emergency lights. Then I can get right down cellar here. So let me show you my circuit for my emergency system here on my generator. Now all those noises that you hear are the uninterruptible power supply is beeping because there's no power. So I gotta move everything from this receptacle here up into this unit here. So let me get this stuff plugged in. Let's see here. Alright. So now my whole load is plugged into my generator. So let me show you, since everything is back up and running here. So here is my dedicated generator receptacle for my refrigerator, and then here is my other receptacle over here that has my other peripherals running on it. So everything runs smoothly. Now I had to plug in a smaller load in this receptacle so that the generator wouldn't be go crazy on me. But this is like a 100-watt load, and this is the this red cable here is my refrigerator. So let's get upstairs and show you how that thing works. So I got my refrigerator unplugged from the electrical socket, and I'm going to plug it into this little red cable here. Now as you can hear, the refrigerator is up and running. So there you go. Now earlier when I came in here, I hit the wrong switch, and that's why these lights wouldn't come on. And that's why the backlights would come on, because there's only one switch in there. I've got two switches here. Now I just turned off the one load, you can hear the generator switch gears. So if I turn off the master load, then it goes right back to where it should be. So what happens if there's no load on this thing and we got a full load and the refrigerator comes on? So I got to turn that back up off of eco and flip the generator on. And now there's the refrigerator is coming on. And that's the biggest load on my generator. So once that's on, you can start turning on the other load. So once that's set, you can turn your eco mode on. Well, right before I exited, the load blew the overload switch in my generator, so I had to turn off my loads and turn it back on so nothing's overloading. But the nice thing about our setup in here is that everything runs off from battery before the generator has to kick in. Now I have to manually turn the generator on, but see, I can now, I can do it before. Now if I'm going to do another video on emergency lighting. Now I've kind of grouped in some of that stuff throughout different videos just to give you kind of a general idea of what I'm doing here. And yes, some of my stuff that I'm doing here is a little bit more advanced than some of you folks want to do. You just want to plug in your extension cord. So now I can just go around the house and turn on lights. So here's this little lamp here. Doesn't put out too much light, but I can actually turn that on, and we can see in the dark here. Now it's not a working lamp, it's really just kind of a mood light, but that will work here, and the same way with our living room. So we can turn on all these lights. So all our lights in our living room here can run, and it works just fine. And that lamp over there does work, but it would be a little bit too much right now for our load that we have with the refrigerator. And if we come over here in this office, none of the lights work. And yes, the computer will work because it's on the generator. And this pole chain light here does not work because the power's out. So that's how you know that the grid power is off out of your house. So now we can just sit back and wait for the generator to run out of gas. Let me talk to you homeowners for a few minutes here. Now, what do I have running? Now, I have a little camping generator. It's a Honda EU 2000i, which means that it's an inverter generator. So basically what that provides me is clean power so I can run my sensitive audio and video equipment without harming that on my generator. Now, for you folks that have some needs with refrigeration, how do you get it to work on your 2000 watt generator? It's very simple. Now, my setup isn't quite done because the power went out before I could actually get the circuit completed for my refrigerator. So I had a receptacle put in so I could just plug that red cord in temporarily. But when I'm done, I'm going to actually have a Romex 12 gauge in-wall wire run up to my refrigerator. So that's the key. Now originally when I got the Honda generator, I thought, well, I'm just going to see if this will run, my refrigerator. And it didn't. Well, years later I found out through a friend which has the same generator, and he lives off-grid in a cabin where he's about a mile or so off the road, so you can't get any power source down there without spending oogles and boogles of money to do it. And he said that, well, I run my refrigerator on my generator without a problem. And I said, what's your thing? How did you get it to work? And he said, well, I just used an extension cord and plugged it in. And I told him, I said, well, I did the same thing. And I said, and he asked me, he goes, well, what gauge wire did you have? And I said, 16 gauge. He says, oh, he goes, that's too low. He says, you need 12 gauge. Because I have a 12 gauge extension cord. And that's what this extension cord is that I've got plugged into my receptacle in the basement. It is 12 gauge, and it works just fine. But for some reason, and I don't know why this happened, but I did another test with that same extension cord, and my generator went crazy. Now, I don't know why. I talked to several people, and they said that that's kind of an oddball thing that happened. But he said, actually, the Romex wire that I have running into the house fixed the issue with my generator. So, that's the key right there, is running thick gauge wire from your generator to your refrigerator. And have that dedicated. Now, you can have a small load on that same circuit. So, like I have a 100-watt load that I plugged into, so I got 2 loads plugged into it, and it works, and everything works hunky-dory. So, that's what you need to put in your house, or have your generator close enough to your home so that you can run it through a window or a door or something like that. But who wants to leave their door open when it's cold outside and there's no power and you're trying to keep your house warm? So there's nothing that you can do with your furnace. I mean, our furnace is basically off. We got a wood stove to heat with in the winter. So we're basically can make it on our own with what we've got. If you've seen my other videos, I've got emergency water systems. Basically, that's showing you what I put into the house to give us water here in our sink in the kitchen and flush our toilets and run our sinks upstairs. Well, the power came back on. So now, since the power is back on, let me more slowly give you a detailed installation how I set mine up. I ran through it quickly before because the power was out and I don't have time to hesitate to get things on the generator before the underhood power supplies lose their energy because it's on battery. So let me go out to the garage since it's quieter. I don't have to yell over my generator noise and show you exactly how I got that set up. Then I'll go to the basement and give you more of a detail of how I got things installed there. That earlier part of the video, that when I was going through everything, was so fast I didn't really have time to explain everything that I've got done here. So first off, to what I showed you earlier was my switches. Now, why do I have switches? For the one reason is that when the generator runs out of gas, that I can just shut those switches off and just turn it off like that, and then the generator won't have a load when you try to start it. I've never tried to start it with a load, and I never will, because the directions say do not start the generator with a load. So once the gas is put back into my generator and I got it going, I can just flip those switches and turn my load back on. So how does it get into the generator? Well, it's just like everything else. It has a plug on it. So I'm going to show you my one mistake I did here. So this is my original, this plug right here with this cable. That was my mistake, because that I should have had a longer cable to my generator. But at the time when I did it, it was not a very big load. And now, since I have a bigger load through both cables, I need to run just straight 12 gauge Romex. And once it gets into there, and same way with both switches, so I got one gray wire down through here, but that one's super long to my generator, so I can move the generator around. So once we get up to the generator, let me see here if I can get enough light here so you can see the front of my generator. So basically it has the AC out, and basically when you turn the generator back on, you gotta have the eco mode off. And basically that's what they are. They're just I mean, they're extension cord plugs basically, and that's what they are. They're just, you just put your ends on it like you were gonna put it on a regular outdoor extension cord. Then you just have your two receptacles here that you can plug anything into. So then you just plug it in, just like I had it, and then you can just run everything from them switches. So you don't have to unplug. So you don't have to keep. You don't have to wear out your receptacle down here to unplug the load, so you can turn your generator back on. So once it gets into the house, and I've got these wires all on the ground. So these are basically dedicated lines. They're not backfed through the breaker panel or anything like that. I've heard some people doing that, but I didn't like that idea. And other people I've talked to said, you know, that's dangerous. So these are just dedicated circuits to the generator and to my home. Now once we get down this basement here, basically those cables turn right back into receptacles. So you got this receptacle here that goes into here, and I just got this one here. This one right here that my hand's on is the generator, and I just have this one because this was my old setup, but I didn't want to have to rewire everything because it had the plugs on it. So I have one plug here that is basically a little, I think it might be maybe 7 or 1 watt. I can't remember what the bulb is. But it's just a little bulb to show you that the generator is running. So on the other side here, I have my other switch, my new one I just got installed. This is for the refrigerator, like I talked about to you earlier, for this red cord that's plugged in. Now, how does everything work? And how do I get it upstairs? So basically, it's just like every other house that's out there. They have junction boxes and different things like that. So let me show you my circuit here. Now this is my circuit that I'm actually not done with. I've got the plate for it. And this is my original circuit over here when I first bought the generator. So once I get all the rest of my wire, I can just feed that the same. I'm just going to keep the receptacle in down here so I can power up stuff if I have to. But then I also can run wires throughout my home that is just dedicated to the generator, so I can have my refrigerator, my toaster oven, my toaster for like if you want to make toast, my teapot, you know, etc. To be able to run up in the kitchen without having to move them down here. And I've done it before. I've taken our teapot down here and plugged it into the receptacle. It's basically the same thing for everything down here, even the uninterruptible power supplies. Now the uninterruptible power supplies have their own cord, and basically that's what I've done here is I've just put the same Romex in, put a whole bunch of receptacles in the ceiling, and just put a plug on it. And I can show you the back of these now, and I'll show you what I've done here. So basically, here is the back of these uninterruptible power supplies. And you can see that I've got plugs in them, and they will run, and I'm not going to unplug them because they'll interrupt my equipment that is running. So this is my circuit for my networking equipment and my telephone. And this one over here is for my lighting. And basically, it's just everything is plugged in. Now I can unplug this because nothing's connected. I mean, there's no switches on, so you can just unplug that. But if the emergency switch was turned on upstairs for the basement, I would have just shut that circuit right off if I unplugged the lights. So that's how that all works. And I have a separate light circuit in the house so that all the lamps work on it. And I keep hitting on this all the time because it's very important to have lights in your home. And what's better is to have it all centralized, like this unit is, right down here in my basement, and just wired up for the ceiling. And Right over here is my other dedicated light circuit, which goes upstairs to the kitchen, the living room, the bathroom, and different places like that up on the second floor. So that's how that all works. Now, if you are a handyman that can do it yourself, wire it, it's fairly easy. And like me, I can just do about anything and everything. I'm not a jack of all trades, but I'm a jack of some trades, and I can wire up my own circuits and make sure that everything is grounded. That's the key, is having things properly grounded in your home. No sense of killing yourself because you're cheap not grounding your receptacle to your generator or to your breaker panel. And that is basically how everything is set up here, so that my refrigerator runs. I don't have to have rotten food in my refrigerator. Now, really, when it comes right down to it, I've never really had rotten food in my refrigerator. I just was doing that for a demonstration of what it could happen if I didn't have a generator. And I've had plenty of times where I was risking myself not running the refrigerator on my generator. Of course, at the time, I did not have the wiring in my home to be able to run that circuit on my generator. So I hope this gives you a little more of a detailed installation guide on how I have everything set up here so it works. But eventually I will get rid of that red wire that goes up to my kitchen to power my refrigerator. That's not necessary once I get everything installed into my home. So I hope you have a great day and stay safe during an emergency.